Test.
Okay. We'll call our meeting to order. If you would all please stand, and we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll do our roll call. Our council member here that does that is absent, Brian Fott, so I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Nancy Montgomery? Here. Let's see, we have Jeremy Varner. Here. We have Mike. Here. We have Steve Wolf.
Here.
Kelly Cornett is not here tonight, so we need to either excuse or not excuse her. She's at a business meeting tonight, so we would entertain a motion one way or the other.
A second.
Okay, we got a motion from Mike and then a second by Steve. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We'll go to our public comment. We have a distinguished guest here tonight, former Judge Ron Dvorak. Ron, if you would introduce yourself to our streaming audience, and then you can have your time.
My name's Ron Dvorak. I'm a member of the Kiwanis Club, and that's why I'm here this evening. We're going to be celebrating our 75th anniversary. We were with Russellville Kiwanis Club until recently when we moved from Russellville to Georgetown. We now meet at the Eagles Club, and we have a name which is a little longer, Kiwanis Club Southern Hills Region. But I noticed banks have changed their name to Southern Hills, and the school was Southern Hills, so we decided maybe we're part of Southern Hills. We have members all the way from Fayetteville to Maysville. So we're very excited about celebrating our 75th anniversary, and that's why I've come to invite all of you to come to that event. It's here at St. George in the Parish Hall. We begin at 6, we eat at 7, we have entertainment that night, and we'll learn a lot about Kiwanis. Kiwanis is improving the world one child and one community at a time. And the most exciting thing that we have just this month chartered a new Kiwanis Club here in Brown County. And it's a key club. That means it's a high school students who are now going to be Kiwanians, and I'm hoping they'll all come to this particular face so we get to talk. But they run their own Kiwanis Club at the school. They do their own fundraisers. We just supply the money to charter them. So I've been waiting for that for years to get one of those clubs started. And this year we'll have it going. And I think this evening in celebration of 75 years, it's a good kickoff for the next 75 years because all of our projects are to help the youth of the county. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ron. Thanks. Wish you well.
I have to run to another meeting.
Okay.
I'm retired, but.
Okay. We have other public comments. Please introduce yourself to our streaming audience.
My name is Michelle Hopkins, Georgetown resident. And in the charter, Article 3, Council, Section 306, removal. The mayor and council shall be the sole judges of the qualifications of members of council. By 2/3 vote of the council and the mayor inclusive, the council and the mayor may expel or remove any member of council for failure to meet or maintain qualification of office, for violation of this person's oath of office, or conviction or a felony or other crime involving moral turpitude, or for persistent failure to abide by the rules of council. Any such action taken by the council and mayor shall be of immediate effect. Charges may be brought against a member of council by the mayor and one council member, or by any two members of council who notify the accused member in writing of the charge against that member. The mayor and council shall consider the charge at a public meeting, which shall occur not less than 15 days after written notice is delivered to the accused member of the charges. If the accused member cannot be located after reasonable effort, written notice of the charges and the date, time, and location of the public meeting to be held by the mayor and council to consider the charges shall be provided by public notice in accordance with Section 1207 of this charter. This meeting shall be held not earlier than 7 days after the date of the last publication. The accused member may be represented by an attorney and shall have the opportunity to be heard, present evidence, and examine under oath any witnesses. The accused member shall not vote on any matters relating to the charges or the removal of that member. If removed, a council member could not be appointed by council, but may run for election after 4 years. Also in the charter, Article 3, Council, Section 302, Quorum. A quorum for council and for any of its committees and any board established by this charter shall consist of a majority of the members of that body, but a lesser number may adjourn the meeting from time to time and compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as may be prescribed by the rules, regulations, and bylaws of the council. The term by majority vote shall mean a majority of the quorum present. I was a member of the Charter Commission, and this section was done so there had to be a two-thirds vote, so the mayor would have the vote of the person excluded. This is unique in that we are currently without one council member, which means there would not be 2/3 of 5. It would simply be the one more than 50%. I ask that each of you please bear this in mind when dealing with the inappropriate actions of council members. At the meeting of April 13th, Ms. Montgomery, after roll call and before public comments, asked and was granted permission to speak, at which time she admitted her mistake and apologized for her wrongdoing. Additionally, this statement was read from a document. Whether written or typed, this document should be included as part of the official record. If there is no copy, the minutes of the April 13th meeting should reflect her statement verbatim. Finally, apology or no, again, I reiterate, if council fails to act accordingly and matters continue to be swept under the rug, each of you will be malfeasant in your duties and responsibilities to this village. We deserve the appropriate action be taken with this matter. To receive less is complete disrespect and disregard to the village citizenry, as well as the charter under which you too are governed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to make a public comment? If you would please give your name, if you would please.
My name is Mark Robert Anderson, former council member. I quit the last meeting because of something I was told prior to the council meeting. All I have to say is do the right thing. At the end of the day, you're the only person who has to look yourself in the mirror and go to bed with yourself. Let your conscience be your guide.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anyone else like to? Jeremy?
I'm Jeremy Jones. I ran in the last election, and I am a citizen of Georgetown. Dear Mr. Mayor and Georgetown Council, I'm here tonight to inform you all that I am interested in the open council seat. I also want to remind you of the results from the last election. I had 260 votes, which was only 14 votes under the individual that got seated, which since he has stepped down. I am interested in the council seat because I still believe in democracy and making Georgetown a better place to live for all ages. I feel I should be considered at the top of the applicants list because I did run in the last election. The other two individuals that ran, one moved out of state and the other one isn't interested. I have attended many meetings before and after the last election, so I do understand how things work. I feel the voters spoke in the last election with wanting me on council, even though I didn't win. I only lost by a small margin of 14 votes. In closing, I am asking you to please consider me for the open council seat. And on a side note, I just want to make a plug for my business. I started my business up for IT services. So if you have any IT needs, I'm sure you'll see my car with the magnets and things. But get a hold of me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll hook you guys up. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Would there be anyone else like to address council? Just please introduce yourself to our streaming audience, please, and you got 5 minutes.
Hello, I'm Michael Hunter, and I also wanted to put my name forth for the empty council position and to ask the council what the process is for your choosing.
Lay out the requirements for being a council member. You have to be a registered voter, number one, and a resident inside of the village of Georgetown. You have to reside, how many days? Is it 30 days or more?
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, actually, I just wanted to know the process for you guys choosing to replace Mark Anderson.
Oh,
So right before the council meeting started, I was just talking to the mayor a little bit, and I had intended in this meeting to see if the other council people were interested in having a discussion about that. We only have one regular meeting set before, the 30 days would be up from which Mr. Anderson resigned. And I think we all recognize, I think everybody up here recognized that even before I was on here, like maybe the last 10 seats that have been filled have maybe been filled 10 different ways. We would all like to get a more uniform process moving forward. But I thought that maybe later in this at some point, and we could do it now, I guess, if the others are agreeable, was to talk about maybe what we wanted to, how we wanted to structure that looking forward to the next council meeting.
maybe we ought to do that in our roundtable discussion. That way it would be a little bit more informative. If we could hold off just a little bit. If you have the ability to stay a little bit longer, Mike, we could go through that process.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else like to address council at this time? If not, we will move on into our business section of our meeting. Council members, in your packet on page 1 is the minutes from our last regular council meeting. If there are any corrections, deletions, omissions that we've had that need to be corrected, this would be the time to do so. And if not, then we would entertain a motion to approve them as written.
Page are those on?
Page number 1, right inside the front cover. There we go. Right there.
Are these last meetings?
No, those are, okay, we got 2 of them. This is the one from March the 23rd, and then we have, let's do that one first on page 1, because we didn't get them approved, because I think there was a correction that had to be made into that.
Explain real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
So these minutes right here are from 2 council minutes ago when Brian was not here and there was a time issue that we needed to get checked out before we could make it official. Brian contacted me today and said he was able to do that with the help of Natalie and Hannah. So the executive session time should be correct, and therefore it's okay for us to approve it if we see fit to do that.
So if you could review these at this point in time, and if there are no corrections to be made to these minutes, then we would entertain a motion to approve them as corrected.
I'll move to approve them.
Okay, we have a motion by Nancy. Do we have a second?
Yes, second, sure.
By Jeremy. Let's do a roll call vote. Nancy,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. All right, let's go to page 4 of your packet, and that is our last council meeting session. And those are the minutes that we need to approve tonight if they are correct. Yeah.
So we had a member of the public just moments ago request that the comments made at the front end of the council meeting be included in the meeting minutes. Am I not seeing them? Are they in fact not in here?
Brian, I emailed Brian yesterday when he had asked for minutes for something else. And I said, do you not need a copy of my statement? And Brian's been going through kind of a tough time and everything. And I think he just didn't think about it. So I emailed that to him.
We could wait and approve these minutes once we get that statement in our midst. We can wait until our next meeting if that's all right. Okay, since we did that before. Okay, let's move on. On page 10 is the Community Development Committee meeting minutes. And if there's any comments or things that need to be spoken of about that committee, this would be the time to do so. And if not, they're for your review.
I'll address a couple of things in the round table.
Okay, very good. Anyone else wish to address anything in these minutes? If there are none, we will move on. On page 11 of your packet is the Budget Committee meeting minutes. And once again, the same process. If there are some questions or if anyone from the Budget Committee wishes to make any type of comment, they can do so at this point in time. And if there's any questions about what has been put in the minutes, this would be the time to ask. We have a couple of the members here this evening. There not being any questions at this point in time, we will keep on moving. On page 12 of your packet is the April 13th Emergency Services Committee meeting minutes. And we have members here tonight. We have both chiefs here tonight, Chief Freeland and Chief Rocky. If anyone wishes to discuss anything with that, we can. If not, this information is for your enjoyment, so to speak, and for you to review.
Dale,
Yes.
Real quick, we had talked about this as the members of the committee at that meeting about just giving a quick summary, just saying that things were going very positively in these meetings, and I think everybody's really pleased in the direction things are going. Chief Freeland seems to be, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Lexipol seems to be doing well, and we're looking at the follow-up service of Cortico. And there was a lot of just feeling that we're moving forward in a positive way. And I'm not going to go over deets because you've got this all in front of you, but just it just seems like things are on a really good track, and we wanted to reinforce that with a comment.
It was one of our better meetings that we've had in a long while, committee meetings. So. Okay, if there's no questions in regard to that, on page 14 of your packet is our bill listings that have been paid. And we'll do our best to try to answer any questions there. Art may be able to bring up some of these topics as to what they are if anyone has a question about these checks that have been written.
Art, could you remind me again what the, seems like you've told me this before, but what the DWA recreation is?
Splash pad.
That's okay.
I was very glad to see that on there. It's progress.
Yeah.
Is there any other items that need to be discussed? If not, we will go to our roundtable discussion, and we can start with Nancy. You're on the end, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. Community Day out at the school Saturday was a huge success. It gets bigger every year, and I just wanted to thank everybody at the school for sponsoring it and all who were involved. The village had the fire department there with a smokehouse for the kids to go through, and Safety Pup and Jesse Green were there. So we want to thank them for representing the village. 2 grant days, which was Saturday night. We had a lot going on Saturday. As always, was well done. They always showcase our village in the best way and work hard to highlight our heritage. And I wanted to thank all of those involved in the annual event. We had a good crowd at the first meeting for America 250 Brown County yesterday. That is the celebration of our 250th birthday of the United States. Jeremy likes to call it the semi-quincentennial.
I can pronounce that. I would.
And we had our first planning meeting. Anybody all over the county who is interested in being involved, welcome to come. This is a countywide thing. Well, it's county inclusive. On July 4th, Ohio has set up a commission and they've bumped it down to the counties. And they want a lot of the activities around the county courthouse. So that means in the county seat. So that means Georgetown. But that includes everybody in Brown County. So we're hoping to have representatives on the committee from every village, every township, any organization, anything that, anybody wants to bring. We're open to ideas. And we meet out at the Brown County ESC out past vocational school. Our next meeting is June 7th at 7 p.m. Right now, we've got to get the fireworks taken care of and the entertainment. And once that's done, then we'll have a breather. I mean, it is, 2026, but we kind of want to start getting some ideas. So please, anybody who's interested, when I say June 7th, at 7 p.m. at the Brown County ESC. The splash pad grand opening will be Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m. The rain date is Sunday, May 21st at 2 p.m. And then it will be open since kids get out of school that week. So please come out. And it's been a long time coming for this. And we're also doing another batch of bench orders for the park. If you want to buy one to advertise your business or in memory of somebody or to honor somebody, they're $200. If you just want to donate a bench and no lettering on it, they're $175. And you can pick up forms from the village office, or you can email me at nancy.montgomery@georgetownohio.gov. And those will be turned back into the village. And that way, they're also tax deductible for you. So that is all I have.
Thank you very much. Jeremy, do you have anything for council?
Just a couple of very quick items. First of all, thanks again to Nancy for the splash pad coming together. It's a lot of work that has gone into that, and it's, I think, going to be fantastic for kids, and the timing couldn't be better. So thank you, Nancy, for all the work you did on that. I'd like to actually thank Art twice. Item number one is the last meeting we had. Art put together a really nice presentation on the status of grants that we're getting and how they can be applied to improve the village. And it's remarkable. It's just the direction that we really need to be going in, and it was phenomenal. And I just want to keep mentioning it because I want to keep that in front of our vision and keep getting traction on that, and keep that as a focus of why we're here and what we're doing. So I appreciate the work Art did to get it to happen, and then also just putting the PowerPoint together too. So thank you, Art. Also, thanks to Art for his, Nancy had mentioned the Grant Day celebration. Art jumped in with some fireworks expertise on there, and we had a beautiful display and nothing burnt down, which is good because he had some experience with that. So that was fantastic. It was a great night. Thank you, Grant Days committee, but also thanks to Art for that. Finally, just a quick note. It might seem a little silly for me to give a shout out to police surviving dangerous situations when that's kind of their job description, and so probably happens all the time. It does happen all the time. But Captain Matt Staggs had a fun week this past week, and I just want to say thank you for what you do, Matt, and appreciate your handling a difficult situation recently. Yeah, exactly. And on that note, I think I turn it over to Mike here.
Before you get going there,
Oh,
Mike.
yes, sir, sorry.
if any of you are interested in the grant opportunities that are coming to Appalachian, Ohio, you can visit our last YouTube session. I think it's in its entirety on there, and it'll give you a great idea of the scope of this thing. It's huge, and we'll be partnering. We have engineering firms already on board. Administrator Owens has just been working like a dog over this thing, and I think good results will happen of it. So please watch that YouTube video because there's a lot of good information on there. Okay, Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was wanting, and this is kind of an open question for anybody on council. I have sat through many appointments as far as council members in the past, and I was just wanting to get some clarity on, how are we going to move forward? I think there is something to be said about one of the people that have put their name in the hat going through the trouble to run publicly. That don't take away from anybody that wants to have a seat. I just feel like that, they did do their due diligence to run. So I think that is something that we could consider looking at. And also I want to see about setting up a hearing date.
Can we take those one at a time?
Yes.
Can we talk about maybe how we would, the process in which we want to select somebody going into our next council meeting? And not to disagree with you, when I ran for council the first time, or actually I was appointed, I wouldn't have been able to do it in the previous election, but I was very much able to do it the next one. So it should be given some weight for sure. But in the instance of the other people that have an interest in running, it could just be that at that time it didn't work for them, and now it does.
I agree.
But as far as what we want to do, if we want to, we don't currently have anything posted out on the.
Mike, are you finished with your, or do you have more to say?
Well, I'm just.
We'll
yeah,
discuss that.
Yeah, go ahead. Then.
Well,
Yeah,
Steve?
other than that, I just want to get some
You want
clarity.
to come back to that?
You go with what you wish to talk about, and then we can come back to whatever else we wish to do. Okay.
He had two things there, and it sounds like we talked a little bit about one of them and none about the other. You want to come back to both of those things?
So is there a process in place? Is there an application they can fill out? Is there-
Anyone that wishes to apply for village council, open village council seat, those that are here today are so noted. Any of those that wish to, they can have a written request and bring it into the village offices. We do have a file there with several names in it, and we'll be sharing that with council here in the next day or two.
Well,
think-
can I say one other thing?
Yes.
Can we, I know like when I ran, I always had to get signatures, and I'm not saying that's very significant, but I feel like it is. And I think that if the people wanted that position, they should have to get maybe 50 signatures, maybe. I mean, I would think that would show support.
I don't know whether we have the right to do that, Joe, do we, or not?
I think council can decide if they want to have requirements for people that they're seeking. I don't think you can mandate to serve that you must have this because it's not in the charter. But if you said we would like to see as a show of support, each person go get it. Yeah, I mean, you can set those things. You can say they bring references. You can say that you'd like to have each person come in and speak for 5 minutes at a meeting. Yeah, you can do all those types of
Well, it takes a little bit of time, and that just goes to show, how much they're willing to put forth in that. It kind of shows a sign of, it's not easy sitting in these seats. That's for certain. So.
I'd like to back up one step, and I think we ought to advertise it on the Facebook page first, because it hasn't even been advertised. So I just think it ought to be advertised.
I agree with that. And I'm still not sure. I'm not trying to be obtuse here. I'm still not sure if we've answered Mr. Hunter's question in as much as, do we intend to take those and just kind of look at them at the next council meeting and pick, all of us collectively pick one? Are we going to have an interview? Are we going to narrow it down to 3 and then interview? I've seen it done all ways. And
Well,
I think that's what he was alluding to.
Well, I think that's entirely up to you as council members. There are no set rules. The rules are how you set them.
So maybe when we have the special meeting.
I would suggest that whatever we do, we make those decisions before we advertise it. So that
Absolutely.
people know exactly.
right now.
That, yeah, okay. Okay,
That's
got
what
it.
I'm
Okay,
thinking. I mean,
Right.
just, yeah.
All
Do
right.
we, supposedly they put in a letter, and I was in the same boat, Steve. I mean, I've watched this happen time after time after time, and there's no consistency. I thought there should be, the charter committee decided there shouldn't be, and let every, do however they wanted.
Thought
Do we
we'd
want a
be cool.
resume? I mean, I think at the very least we interview
I
them.
guess I get a little bitter because, not bitter, but just to get an appointment, I had to turn in like a pretty robust resume. And
I did too the
did
first time I was
letters
put
of
on.
recommendation and whatnot. Yeah.
Um,
And we've had other ones where we didn't, and we've
Right.
had everything in between. And I don't want to keep trying to speak for Mr. Hunter, but I think that's what he was saying. What's going to be your process? What are you going to want? So,
Well, I think maybe considering if we back it up and say, what are our goals? What do we value? What do we need? And then match what people would bring to those things that we think are critical. If you see what I'm saying?
so just like, okay, so I'll start.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I would like to see from somebody who is going to apply, maybe a written letter, a typewritten letter on why they wish to be on council, and their concerns and ideas for the town, and what they feel, what strengths they feel they would bring to the council.
I have the idea that either in something that we've done ahead of time or in that interview thing, that we would have a list of questions that we feel are, because we sit here and we're living this, we know what's going to succeed and or we have an idea what's going to succeed, what's going to fail. So it'd probably be more fair to the potential candidates to have these questions out ahead of time, so they can come prepared to say, so if we could put those questions together, I'll be honest with you, the one, and I would have said this 3 months ago. One question I would like the people to ask, besides what experience you have of all this kind of stuff, is experience they have working with others. What experience do you have cooperative, engaging with a leadership group kind of a thing? How do you resolve conflict when a conflict comes up? That kind of stuff. Because I think no 6 people are ever going to agree, and how those people are going to react to that statement is pretty important.
So I brought up 3 or 4 questions. You just brought up 3 or 4 more additional questions. For simplicity, would maybe we advertise this thing and let the candidates know that each council person might have 3 or 4 different questions that they wish to ask them at the next meeting?
Do you intend to do this in executive session, or are you going to do it in open session?
both ways.
You do it. Right. I think that's an important
Guidance?
distinction.
Let's talk.
That's
about
an
that.
important distinction. No matter what you decide to do as far as the interviewing, you ultimately have to come out in a public meeting,
Right,
and make a decision. But you are able to interview them. And then my next question would be, do you want to do that at a regular meeting or a special meeting? Remember, your requirement is that you do it 30 days from the vacancy or the mayor gets to appoint.
Okay, first of all, I think if we post it, we need to put the deadline at least a week out, maybe 10 days, I don't know. 30 days is going to be like May, I don't know.
30 days from the date he resigned.
Yeah, which was the last meeting,
It's just
so.
like 2 days past our next meeting, doesn't it?
It'd be,
I think it's pretty close.
13th, or no, yeah, the 13th.
I mean, I don't think they need 3 weeks. They're either interested or they're not interested. But I will tell you, my personal opinion, having been through this several times. I like candidates to be interviewed in open session so that people at home can see why we chose whoever we chose. However, and I was not involved in this one as before I came on council, I understand there was a big problem when other candidates were sitting in while those interview in open council. So when I was appointed to council, I was interviewed in open council in front of everybody, but they asked all of us except the person being interviewed to leave. Now, they don't have to leave. It's an open meeting. But if you want to be on council, I would think you would do what the council asks you to do. That's my personal, because I think it's good that the people at home see, maybe are able to tell why we picked whoever we did. But I don't think it's fair to have all the council members in. I understand that was a real problem the one time they did that, but that's just my thought.
The person that went last, for instance, got to hear what everybody
Yeah.
else said. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So maybe if we were in this room, and I don't know that it would be, maybe the other room would be done, but then you'd ask them if they'd go wait downstairs
Right.
and they'd be called up on. Gotcha.
I don't think we can tell them,
Yeah.
but
That
we
all
can
makes-
ask
That
them.
all sounds great to me.
So but can we publicly let the people see who on council approves and who disapproves?
We have to vote in
I don't feel
public.
like, now, I didn't see that when I was doing that at all. Actually, it was executive session.
There was no vote in executive
No.
session. We had to come out.
You have to vote in public.
Right, but I didn't know individually, as far as council members, who voted for who.
Yeah.
Or in the video.
Mhm.
When
You have
we,
to
when we
vote.
come out, we
We
had
come back
someone that
in
made a
after they've
nomination.
made the decision. I come back into the room after the decision was made. There wasn't nothing public about that.
Yeah, we had to vote.
If it was, it was a time with me,
No, I had me and you were sitting there, and it was when me and you was in there to try to get appointed.
Yeah.
And we was brought in separately.
Yep.
And then we was sent out, and then they made their decision, and then we came back in. I didn't see nothing public on that meeting whatsoever.
I-
And I'd love to go back to that date, because I promise you, it was not public.
I, I could be loopy, and I'm happy to go back and look too. I could have sworn I remember exactly where I was sitting when the vote took place, and I could be wrong, but I thought I remembered that.
I'm
That's
pretty
okay.
positive.
Okay, we'll check it out. I'm not telling you wrong.
That's how it's going to happen this time. for
Right,
sure.
okay, yeah. So vote in public.
So what we need to do then is to put those requirements, like why you want to be on council, what value would they bring, what expertise they might bring to their, is there more questions we want them to try to answer? Or is that relegated to you as council members when you do the interviewing process?
Can be, but I think it's fair to the potential candidates, if it's feasible, if it makes sense, to get our questions out there sooner rather than later.
Maybe we do this, just throwing this out here. We could sit here and draft up all those questions right now, which might be a little rushed and cumbersome. Or maybe we let a combination of the mayor, who's probably dealt with 50 different council members in his tenure and recognizes a good one from a not as good one or whatever, and the administrator put together a draft of 10 questions they'd recommend, float it by us real quick in the next day or two. Everybody kind of individually thumbs up some or whatever, suggest a tweak, and we whip that into shape, and then they can put that on the website with the advertisement potentially.
And Kelly Cornett's
What
pretty good
cutoff
at
date do
this
you
too.
want
She has a
first?
lot of that in her work.
What cutoff date do you want first? Let's get that done so I can,
This has to be done by May the 12th.
by May the 12th.
Our council meeting is May the 11th.
Right.
So you either can do it beforehand or you can delay it the day afterwards.
What about May 5th? That's the end of that.
That's a Friday.
Yeah. May 5th, that's the end of the week. It gives them a week and a day.
I know I will not be able to be here May 5th.
Well, I don't think we have to
We
do
would-
it May
oh,
5th,
okay.
just have the deadline.
All right.
But isn't that over the 30 days if you wait all the way to the next council meeting? I thought you said.
Monday.
That's like
No.
The 13th would be 30
Or
days.
2 days.
Okay.
Technically, that's a Saturday, so I'm back.
So we could have a cutoff of May the 5th. Is that agreeable by everybody?
Yes.
Okay, 4 PM, April 5th, or May 5th, I'm sorry. I'll put some questions together. You can either say thumbs up, thumbs down. That doesn't preclude you from asking your own questions whenever you're in the interviewing process.
Right, because a lot of times when you're interviewing, them, it brings up another question.
Right.
So we shouldn't lead them to believe those are the only questions they'll be asked.
Once we have all the interviews concluded, we can go into executive session to discuss the mayors, but we cannot vote in that session. We would have to come out and we'd have to take, there would either be a nomination for an individual, there'd have to be a second. I'd be asking is there any other nominations? Is there a second? So that's what we would have to do. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
So there may be 3 or 4 people. Of course, there's only going to be 1 seat available. So we have to try to hash it out in an executive session without voting and saying that's who we want, because that's illegal. But we have to get an idea in that executive session from the interviewing process and whatever they send into us in order to make a wise decision.
So the question on this, I want to make sure I'm understanding. When we come out of executive session, we would only discuss and vote on one candidate?
No, you can nominate more than 1 candidate.
And so how do you decide? Yeah, thank you. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so let's say, for instance, there's 4 of us here, and 2 of you want one and 2 of you want the other one. And then we would have to, I don't know whether we'd have to have a majority, would we?
We can do it however you would like to do it. We can say, choose candidate A or candidate B, or you can say, we'll vote on candidate A, then if it doesn't pass, we'll vote on candidate B. That's up to you. Just has to be done open.
So we could say, the 2 of you on the end want candidate A. You could say, we want these 2 gentlemen, and say, no, we don't. So that's 2 against 2. They would say, we want candidate B. They would vote for 2, and you would vote no. Then we have to start the process over again.
Or do you break a tie?
I don't know that I do. It's your appointment.
Okay.
I don't think I could vote that in that way since it's not deferred to me yet, would it?
See, I think you're included in the removal process, but not
Yeah,
in the
he's
appointment.
not included in the appointment.
Oh, that's right. Kelly will be here, so there'll be 5.
There'll be 5 here,
people.
so there will
So
not be a
that
tie.
won't be an issue. Okay.
But if it comes up, I think it is a council appointment.
Right.
Okay.
So
The mayor could choose candidate C that nobody nominated. So, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You hear that?
For those of you out there that have expressed an interest, if you would look at our Facebook post, there'll be an information sheet there for you. Just write some sort of a brief summary of the questions that are being asked of you and get it in. You could either email it to any of our council members, to our administrator, to myself, and that will be forwarded on to the council members for them
And
to
I-
review. Go
And
ahead.
I would have it sent to one person,
Right.
either you or Art, because then somebody may get it and not see it or forget. And I just think it should go to one person.
Art, you have other people that have access to your
Yeah.
email, is that correct? Okay, so let's have it sent to our administrator, Art Owens, and that will be on that information on the Facebook page where that can be sent in. Okay? We'll get that same information to the ones who have already applied and to get that to them. There's been 3, I believe. Is that correct, Art? We'll get that to them as well, so they have the opportunity to do the same thing.
And we all apologize. I think I speak for everybody for it being a little chaotic. I mean, this group has not been through this and it was abrupt and there's no set process. So,
Yeah.
thanks for bearing with us.
And a follow-up on that, am I correct in saying or suggesting that what we're deciding here is actually going to become the process in the future? So we're not to reinvent the wheel every time we want to go with this?
Well, you can adopt it as
So the
that.
way that could happen,
Thank you.
and we talked about this last time,
Mhm.
is that we would codify
Right.
that process. So what I might suggest to you, let's see how it goes this session. And if it works the way you all want it to, why doesn't one of you suggest that I craft that into legislation and then you can vote on it? And then future councils will have that to follow.
We can do that even though the charter
Yeah,
said
because the
no.
charter actually provides that you can adopt policies on those. So
Okay.
yes. Yeah. You just can't be inconsistent with the charter, just so I'm clear.
But the charter states we're allowed to change a charter like this, right?
Well, you can't change the charter, but you can add requirements.
Okay,
So for
okay.
instance, I'll give you a for instance, because that gentleman asked what the requirements were. Says you must live in the village continuously for a period of 1 year prior to appointment. You can't change it to 5 years, or you can't say that it's 6 months, We have to follow the rules in the charter, and then we can add the process, just not anything inconsistent.
Any questions about the process?
So just to be clear, the cutoff date is 4 PM, May the 5th, and then you're going to write a letter of questions to give to me, then I'll post it on Facebook tomorrow.
Well, those questions will be for the council members to look at first, and then we can post them.
Okay.
Okay, so that may be an extra day.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the process? Okay. All right. Where are we next? Okay. Okay. Michael brought up the question about having a special meeting for a hearing for potential dismissal or discipline of a public official. If that's what you would want, that you have to suggest a date, a time, and you would have to make that into a motion, and it would have to be approved at this time. It cannot be done any sooner than 15 days after there was a public notice to that end, that council member. And that was,
It cannot occur before May 4th.
cannot occur before May the 4th. So it could be on May the 4th or anytime thereafter.
I would prefer one day in the following week. I'll just arbitrarily throw out perhaps May the 9th.
That's Tuesday, May the 9th. If you want to make that into a motion, you can, to see whether there is a second, unless there's some discussion.
I won't be here that day.
Joe Braun cannot be here that day.
It's not required that I be here.
Perhaps May the 10th.
Does the 10th work any better?
It does?
10th works well for Mr. Braun.
Are you making the motion?
I'm thinking about time. I'm thinking about time next.
Yeah,
On
on this guy's perspective, I actually can make the 10th. That's,
Okay. And
do what you will, but I,
5, 6.
okay, the early, on the
Earlier the
10th,
better.
the earliest I can get here is 4:30, and I'll stay till midnight. If, I mean, you can start at any time late you want, but 4:30 is the soonest I can get here.
So we do 5. Or is that
Okay.
too early for you? Too early?
that works for me.
And do we need to worry about Kelly at this point?
Well, it might make sense to,
Because for voting purposes, if she's not here, then
I agree.
Yeah.
How do we handle that? If we set that now and then she can't be here that day, we just have to,
We could change it if we need to.
you can call special meetings.
Um,
Guess we'd have to cross that bridge when.
so lock it in now and hope for the best.
Yeah. I make a motion that we have the special meeting to consider the dismissal or discipline of a public official on May 10th at 5 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion on our floor for that to take effect. Is there a second on that? Second by Mike. Let's do a roll call vote. Steve,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Nancy.
I don't think I can vote, can I?
For a special meeting, I think you can vote.
But it involves me.
Can she vote or not?
You can't vote in that. Oh, maybe.
Consent that you can be here.
I think it is important. I agree with Steve. I think she needs to consent that she can attend.
Yeah, I can be here May 10th or May 9th.
Well, the motion passed, and that will be set up for May the 10th, 5 o'clock. It'll either be here upstairs, or if our council chambers are back in order, we'll be downstairs. Okay. Anything else, Steve?
Yeah. I'll tell you in advance, this is going to be just a little bit lengthy. I would normally apologize for that, but I'm not going to apologize for it in this instance because it's not a situation I created. So I guess it's more of a warning than an apology. I want to speak about some things, some comments that were made at the last council meeting. I wasn't able to attend that council meeting, and but my name was mentioned more than once, and that happens when sometimes, like we've mentioned Kelly's name tonight, and she's not at this council meeting, but my name was mentioned a few times in that meeting. I don't think anybody said anything untrue about me at that last meeting, but I think there was some facts omitted that certainly are relevant. And and to kind of get those, I almost have to retell the story of the last meeting to kind of get those clarifications made, and I will do that at this time. At the April 13th council meeting, Councilperson Montgomery issued a statement wherein she offered something that she called an apology pertaining to a text message that she had sent to myself and to Mayor Cowhall, to Councilperson Mays, and to Councilperson Varner. She explained in that apology that she had texted Mayor Cowhall and us 3 council members to express concerns she had about a Facebook comment made by a village employee. Now, for clarity, the Facebook comment she was referring to was made by a Georgetown police officer. Ms. Montgomery stated that people had reached out to her and were upset about this Facebook comment. And not just a few people, several people. That's what she said, several people. And I underscore that, several. That's a lot. In politics, I think several means like more than one. So, but strangely, can you guess how many people contacted Chief Freeland, the officer's actual boss? That's who you would normally go to when you have a complaint about an employee. You would go to their boss. How many people do you think contacted Chief Freeland about this potential misconduct by this police officer? 0. How many people contacted Mayor Cowhall, who oversees the police department and has so for the last 17 years? 0. How many citizens contacted this guy or this guy or this guy talking right now who are actually on the Emergency Services Committee and works with the police department about this topic? 0. There's even a link on the Georgetown Police Department's webpage wherein anybody from the public can anonymously put in complaints about the police. And you guessed it, 0 complaints about this officer's Facebook post. So nobody contacted anybody else, but for some reason, several people contacted Nancy Montgomery, she tells us. I'm not sure where this became people's idea that that's how you get things done with the police department, but I think that the reason nobody complained about this text, except for those who complained to Nancy, of course, was because the text was simply a clarifying remark by the officer about a recent arrest in town. But never mind that. Let's get back to this text message sent by Nancy and her apology at the last council meeting. I'm going to talk about this text a little bit because there was a little bit of important details that I feel were omitted. I received this text from Nancy at 11:04 a.m. on March 29th as I was working in my office at the Adams County School District. And as a general rule, I'm really not supposed to engage in text conversations while I'm being paid by my employer to do a job, but I'm not going to sit here and lie. I do that sometimes. I occasionally answer non-work related text. And on March 29th, when I received this text, I could see it was from Nancy Montgomery, but I had no idea who else was included in the text message. Now, I've brought my phone with me tonight, and I can prove this. I've actually had a conversation with Ms. Montgomery in which she seems to doubt this, but when you have an iPhone 10 and you get a text message from somebody and sent to several people, you cannot see who else is included in the text message. You can't even see the names of the other people. It simply gives you some initials at the top of the screen. And you have to push that button up there to expand the recipient list and see who all is in the text message. And I didn't do that this day. I'm at work, I'm at my desk, I got people coming in and out of my door, the office phone's ringing, I get a text message from Nancy, I don't see who else is in it. And I see that she has a complaint about a text that she says that a response to a text on Facebook that a police officer's made. And without even reading what the response was or anything, I immediately pick up my phone and say, and I'm paraphrasing here, this isn't any of our business. We don't oversee the police. That would be between the mayor, who oversees the police department, and the individual who wrote the text. You see, I'm the chairperson of the Emergency Services Committee, the committee that works directly with the police department in special meetings. And it was very clear in the message that Nancy had sent to me that she wanted that matter of that text discussed in the next ESC meeting. So it was at this time that I'm reading this and I sent this response to her that all of a sudden another person jumps in the text, this guy, Jeremy Varner. And he chimed into the text, and it's at that point I realized, hold on, there's multiple council people involved in this text. Nancy Montgomery sent the text, and now I'm in the text. I know Jeremy's in the text. Who else is in this text? So I hit the little expand button, and lo and behold, this guy's in the text. And I say, uh-oh, that seems like that's probably improper. That's a quorum of council. We're not supposed to be having these kind of discussions when we're not in front of all you people. That's violation of the Sunshine Law, Open Meeting Act. Now, what I did next and what Ms. Montgomery did next is a very important part of this story. Okay, I've gotten a message from her. I've responded to it. Now I realize it's an improper message, a conversation we shouldn't be having. What do? I call this guy, our village solicitor, the village's attorney, and I report it. I say, this is what happened. I'm at work. She sends a message. And as I'm having this conversation with him, Nancy's still texting. She's adding to her original comments. Okay. And with the blessing of the village solicitor, I said, I probably need to tell the others in case they don't realize it or whatever. And to acknowledge the wrongdoing here, I texted these exact words. I just realized this text was sent, and I actually wrote these words down. They were quoted right out of your mouth, Mr. Braun. And I text this back to the group. I just realized this text message was sent to multiple people and that more than 3 council members are part of this text. I should not have responded and will make no further comment. As I'm typing this comment into my phone, Ms. Montgomery sends another text into the group. So that's what you've got here. You've got one council person, me, reporting the potential wrongdoing to the solicitor, and you've got another council person who's the originator of the group text, still texting away. In the last council meeting, Ms. Montgomery offered her apology for this little bit of a mess that she's created, a mess that was substantial enough to make one council person get up and resign his seat and walk away from the table. Now, normally I'm a very forgiving person and will accept apologies when they're offered to me, but none was offered to me. That was kind of the weird part. It was actually very interesting to hear who she apologized to and who she didn't apologize to. She apologized to Solicitor Braun, who wasn't even a part of the conversation. A real odd one. She apologized to Kelly Cornett, God only knows why, who had absolutely nothing to do with this conversation. And then she actually apologized to the whole community. She did not publicly apologize to the people to whom she sent the unsolicited text to, Mike Mays, Jeremy Varner, Mayor Cowhole, or myself. Actually, come to think of it, she apologized to everybody except us. I wasn't at the council meeting when she issued these apologies. I was actually driving down I-71. I had to be out of town on business, but I watched them later on YouTube. And the best analogy I can give you is I felt like somebody had just ran over my dog and then went to the neighbor's house and apologized to them, or apologized to their cat, or apologized to somebody that lives down the road. Why didn't she apologize to the people to whom she had sent this text? Well, I think the answer to that question became very clear near the end of the last board meeting when Mike Mays brought her text message up again in conversation. I assume he brought it up because earlier in that meeting, a council person had kind of walked away from the table and discussed about the whole thing. And I think, from what I understand, kind of shouted from the audience, there's wrongdoing going on up there and you guys aren't going to do anything about it. And so Mike brought this topic up again. And as he began speaking, Ms. Montgomery apparently made the decision to completely abandon her previous apology made 1 hour before and instead shift the blame to others. By others, you're looking at the others.
Ms. Montgomery stated in her reply that Mr. Mays, in her reply to Mr. Mays, that the text she sent would have been perfectly fine and within the confines of the law had I, Steve Wolf, not replied to it. So this is my fault now. And that might be technically correct. Okay. If we're going to go have some kind of discussion in front of an ethics commission or something like that, that might be technically correct. I think that's debatable, but if nothing else, it certainly explains why she didn't apologize to the people to whom she sent the text. You see, you can't apologize to people upon whom you've caused to be in an unsolicited, awkward situation if you ultimately plan to blame them. That would make no sense at all. Ms. Montgomery stated that she was merely sending out an informational text to the member of councils and she wasn't expecting any reply. And she feels this shields her of any wrongdoing. Now, to be clear, I've studied this topic very hard in the last 48 hours. The law does allow for a member of council to send out an informational text to a quorum of council. For an example, I could send out a group text to all of village council stating that, hey, there's a stoplight uptown that's not working. Everybody should probably be aware of that. Or then I could send out a text saying, hey, I'll be absent for the next meeting or something of that nature. But the problem in this instance is this, and I have backing on this. Nancy's initial text to the 3 council members on March 29th was not an informational text. It was full of strong opinion, and it was sent to members of the Emergency Services Committee suggesting that they further discuss this issue in an upcoming meeting. It was a clear and blatant call to action. Matter of fact, she was asking members of the ESC to make what the 2023 Ohio Sunshine Law Manual refers to as decisional analysis. And after she sends her initial text, and I unknowingly answer it, not knowing it was sent to several others, she continues texting again and again and again. This was a discussion started by her, continued by her, when for a time she knew that there was a quorum of councils involved in the text. One person knowingly sent a text to a quorum of council. One person knowingly continued the discussion. One person was once again trying to persuade, let me underscore this part. One person was once again trying to persuade other members of council to publicly deal with a village employee, of course, a police officer, and one person then attempted to publicly spin the table and place the blame on others. But here's my fear in this whole thing and why I was even hesitant to bring it up tonight. I fear people will get too caught up in the technicalities of a potential violation of the Open Meetings Act and miss the much, much, much bigger picture in this. This is really, to me, isn't about a text or the Sunshine Law. No one on this council is arguing this case, like I said, before the Ethics Commission. As Solicitor Braun said in the last council meeting, the charter provides that council polices itself. So this is bigger. This is my opinion only. This is about the repeated conduct of a council member that's hell-bent with personal agenda that is letting their dislike of one of our village departments continually contaminate our village council and be a continual interference in any other work we would do. It's causing controversies. It's causing the controversy I'm talking about tonight. It's caused controversies essentially the whole time that I've been on council. It's high time that it ends. I'm demanding that it ends. I'll take every step to see that it ends. This particular conversation is about a message that was sent. I think this council needs to send a message back to the community that we don't tolerate this kind of shenanigans. And I think quite honestly, I think the village is ready to send the same kind of message back to council. So, in other news, on May 13th, there are 2 big things that will be happening on the courthouse square. The first big event is something that has become something of an annual tradition. The Georgetown Senior Cruising event. Graduating seniors from Georgetown High School will line up at the fairgrounds beginning at 4 p.m. and parade through town beginning at 6 p.m. We ask that the community bring a lawn chair and line Main Street to cheer on the graduating seniors as they are announced as they parade in front of the courthouse. Then, immediately after that's over, somewhat immediately after that's over, approximately 7 p.m., we will launch right into another event that's kind of become a little traditional, but a little bit of a different spin this year. The Georgetown Police Department is hosting a skate around the square. We've had a few of these in the past. They've been extremely popular. I think we had 130 skaters at the last one. There will be information forthcoming on the village webpage and on, other social media sites. The way this is going to work at 7 p.m., we're going to run around real quick, create a little magic, and turn the courthouse square into the area's largest public outdoor skating rink. The police will be joined by their friends in the fire department and EMS, and in an effort to bring the community together in an evening of outdoor skating family fun. Participants under 18 will receive a free shaved ice treat from Enlow Concessions, a free kids meal from Cherry Street Cafe, and will be entertained both by Safety Pup and Spider-Man, and will skate around the square with music provided by a DJ. That's the senior parade. What date did I say? Did I say the date? May 13th. It's a senior parade at 6 p.m., followed by the Georgetown Police Department skate around the square event at 7 p.m. Thank you, Mayor.
Our administrator has something he'd like to comment on.
Yeah, just real quick, he's probably going to choke me for doing this because he didn't want any recognition for it. But for the past year, so we've owned this old house next door to our office here that has looked like an absolute eyesore in town. And one of our council members, Mr. Mike Mays, volunteered his time, his equipment, his employees' time, the fuel, and tore that house down and has made it look great next door. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you for doing that. That saved the taxpayers several $1,000s, and we all appreciate that you did that for us. Thank you.
Anything else, Art?
No, that's all.
Yes.
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead,
This will
Jeremy.
be super quick, but
Yes.
something that Councilman Wolf brought up made me remember I was supposed to do something, and I'm making eye contact with Chief Freeland to make sure I'm doing this correctly. One of the things we had discussed in the Emergency Services Committee that I would like to encourage the town to recognize is the police survey, right? Which is still going to continue to be open until June 30th. Isn't that what we just decided? Yeah, okay. So I can say just real quickly that Chief Friedland has been very attentive in looking at the results we have so far. Please, as anything you've seen up here in the show, we're really interested in feedback. So I forgot to mention that earlier, and that's my fault. But please, we're looking forward to getting feedback from you about that survey. Thank you. Sorry, Dale.
That's fine. That's fine. That's a good comment. Joe Braun.
I just would like to ask for some clarification for members of council. A couple of things as we move forward to that hearing that's going to be on May the 10th. Two questions of procedure that I think should be decided in a public meeting so you can advise. Number one, I did point out to Art that night we have mayor's court, so he's going to make sure that this room or the room downstairs, one of them are available. But who do you want to preside over that hearing? That's not provided for in the charter, so I think that's a decision council should make together. Do you want to have a third-party neutral preside over that, since the mayor will be casting a vote on that as a decider, or do you want to have the mayor preside over that meeting? I think that's a decision you can make. It's up to you.
Well, he'll still be able to vote regardless, right?
He can. The question is, we don't know for sure what kind of a defense will be put on, but that we know there'll be witnesses sworn in. There could be objections if she's represented by counsel, things like that. So I would ask, do you want to, and quite frankly, I guess I'm asking the mayor as well, do you feel comfortable if there's disagreements about who gets to speak or, admissibility of evidence and things like that? Do you want to run that, or do you want me to seek out a third party that we can bring in to preside over that?
Well, if you want true impartiality, a third party might be warranted, since I'll be acting as a council member in that capacity. Council?
How do you all feel? It's your decision.
I'm certainly not going to ask the mayor to do it when he's suggested that maybe it'd make more sense for somebody else to do it. So that's fine with me. I don't know who that somebody would be.
I would find someone who is definitely an attorney, so they know the rules of evidence, maybe a retired judge or an attorney of some kind that has municipal experience, somebody that has no connection to Georgetown, past or present.
And to be clear, this person would just.
All they would do is conduct the
procedurally.
meeting.
Okay.
If people are talking over each other, they'd have the ability to say, slow down, let one person talk without offending one side or the other. And we could have our magistrate do it if that's what you want to do. That's actually probably not a bad idea. Oh, we can't because mayor's court will be going on at the same time. However, I could get someone who is a magistrate in a mayor's court. That's something I could do if I don't find a retired judge. But yeah, if you're comfortable with me reaching out and getting someone, we don't have another public meeting before that takes place. So I need some inputs from you all on what, and that includes Councilmember Montgomery. I need,
Is there any opposition to that procedure?
Like an outside local magistrate.
someone who would just keep the meeting going, staying on topic. As you know, these things can wander. Okay.
I say move forward with getting a third party. If-
Okay.
If the mayor don't want to oversee it, then.
Well, it's not that I don't want to. I think it would be better if there was
Right. Well,
an
I guess that's
impartial
the-
third party.
And that is the only thing we're going to do at that meeting. Am I correct?
Correct.
You don't intend to take on any other business.
That would be the only action.
Okay. All right. I'll move forward with that process. I think that was the only outstanding matter I needed. The rest I'll take care of. I'll have a court reporter there to preserve. And I think that's especially important given that Brian is unpredictable at the moment. And I respect that. But we do need a verbatim transcript.
Would that person, and I guess, we're in uncharted territory and the, I should be in the mic. We're in a little uncharted territory and the charter is vague about a lot of things, but would that, I'm just shooting from the hip here and thinking out loud, would that person maybe in advance, if it were agreeable to everybody, including the accused, maybe set out a recommended format? I'm just trying to think how this thing doesn't become just a bunch, like you said. I mean, he could keep one person from talking over another, but that
Typically-
it doesn't just go.
Yeah. So just so there's not any confusion, typically I would assume, and maybe you can tell me, but if it's going to be conducted as a normal hearing like this would go, typically the role of prosecution, meaning the person alleging the charge, would go first. The defense would ultimately have an opportunity to speak and present their defense, whatever it's going to be. And then there would be a rebuttal period. And then,
That all makes sense. I was just thinking maybe some of that would be outlined on paper heading into.
how about I do this? If I find the person, I can ask them to prepare just a very vague outline, and it'd be a public document, and circulate that.
I suspect that it would be, they could prepare it and it would be something that we could review or tweak.
Sure. Yep, I'll find someone.
Okay, well then we'll go ahead in that manner, if that's the consensus. Also, for those of you who wish to be on council, just keep your eyes peeled to our Facebook page or our website. We will have the questions on there that we'd like to have you address. And then you could get them emailed in to our administrator, Art Owens, and they will be all given to these council members in advance. And then they themselves will be conducting interviews during that time when we decide on a council member. Any questions from council at this point in time? We have a Utilities Committee meeting on May the 11th at 5 p.m. We have a Community Development Committee meeting on Thursday, May 11th at 6. And then our regular council meeting on that same evening at 7 p.m. Is there any old business or new business that needs to be brought before Joey Rocky? I'm sorry, I could have recognized you earlier.
That's okay. Just a couple things real quick. Somebody had already mentioned Saturday, but this past Saturday, we had the community event at the school, and then the grant and days and the fireworks. But I when we went up to work at the community day, there was a softball game going on, and the FFA had their flowers out for sale. And I was just really proud for me to be part of the community. And there was so much going on. And I look around, I follow a lot of other villages on Facebook, and I just don't see other village doing what Georgetown does. I mean, there's always something to do. I have some relatives that moved from another village into Georgetown, and they just rave about all the things that we do. They love the little scavenger hunt at Christmas. They love the Christmas stuff and the grant days, and they really but it was a really good day for Georgetown. I thought there was a lot going on. There was a lot for people to do. And I was just really proud to be a part of it. But alongside that, I wanted to thank Bethel Fire Department and Assistant Chief Cooper from Bethel Tate Fire Department for loaning us their smoke trailer, which was always a big hit with the little kids. I like to get in there, and then it teaches them things, and it's very educational, but I wanted to thank them for that. Later in the evening, we had the fireworks, of course, and with the proximity of where they were being let off to the courthouse and everything, it always makes me a little nervous. But alongside of that, I got to thinking, I thought, man, well, if we catch a fire right before that and there's no fire department here, and that could be how the fireworks. So I thought, well, I'm going to reach out to our buddies, some of our other neighboring departments, and ask them if they want to come and watch fireworks with us and be there. And I asked them, and they, of course, they came like they always do. So I wanted to put a shout out to Ripley, Russellville, and Sardinia guys for coming over and setting and just being here in the event we had to leave, or, if a firework went astray and caught something on fire, we would have resources here. But thanks those guys for coming over. You guys should have all got an invitation to a retirement party.
Yeah, but they
Not
will
yet.
be.
Okay.
Got mine today.
Okay. Well, you will be getting here shortly.
Surprise.
I don't want to. You'll be getting the invitation. I don't want to broadcast it because he doesn't know, and he might be watching. I don't know. But anyways, if you guys could come, and even if it's just for a couple minutes and shake the man's hand, he's got just shy of 52 years in. I mean, that's longer than I've been on the planet, so that's pretty remarkable. So if you guys could come and shake his hand, we will have food and refreshments for him. And so, he deserves a packed house, and I really hope we get that. One other thing is, I received a phone call this week that I wasn't expecting, but we had a full-time firefighter paramedic resign his position. Firefighter Kirker accepted a position in Claremont County with a neighboring department that it's a better career move for him. He felt like he needed to go there and do that. It's a department that doesn't have near the run volume we have, which was a concern of his, because he just said it's his age, covering all the runs we do have is hard and difficult sometimes. So, but we've got some guys stepping up, so we'll get it filled right away. But I think May 5th is his last shift here. So, but we appreciate he was here for a little over a year, and we appreciate what he brought to us. But he is moving on, so we'll still see him though, because he's still the chief at Eastern Joint, which is Sardinia. So, but that's all I have. So, okay.
Thanks, Chief. We appreciate it. So, all right. Those notices have been passed out to the council members. So, all right. Is there anything else that needs to be brought, Chief? I'm forgetting all the chiefs tonight.
Usually I have one report a month, but we had a fairly exciting weekend, so I figured I should probably comment on that. If anybody follows us on Facebook, you probably saw that we had a swatting event that started last Thursday evening. Those that aren't familiar with what swatting is, it's basically where someone calls in a bogus emergency call, ties up emergency services, and I guess gets a chuckle out of it, thinks it entertains them. The particular person that was doing this, it stemmed from a game. They were playing a video game with someone here in town. Apparently there was words exchanged, and he threatened to, well, I say he, it could be a she, threatened to call in a bogus call on this person. When they did so, they used a computer program, voice changing program, used different apps and computer programs to make it appear that the call was coming from different locations around the United States. But basically, the first call was called in on Thursday night, and it was called in as a hostage situation and potential homicide situation, which was luckily quickly realized that it was bogus. And the family came out, was shook them up a little bit, but the son came out, who was the one that was threatened online, and explained the situation to us as well. The next night, the exact same call came in, which luckily dispatch was able to recognize that and squash that fairly quickly. And even a third night on Saturday, there was another call called in on that same residence alleging a overdose. The incident from Thursday, the person they didn't actually follow through with it, but they threatened to call the school and make a school threat as well. That was passed on to the school staff, and which I believe was passed on to the parents, and I believe the kids that did not come to school on Friday were excused. So it caused a lot of chaos. There are 2 officers that are currently investigating that, Corey Hunnicky and Jesse Green. There have been several subpoenas and search warrants for multiple apps and computer programs to try to obtain some type of an identity to go with this person. We do believe it's a teenager, but regardless of their age, if we can track them down, we're going to make sure that there are criminal charges brought up on them. On April 22nd, the Georgetown Community School Days, which several of you have spoke about, Jesse Green was up there with Safety Pup like he usually is. He had handed out candy, stickers, and coloring books to the kids. Jesse, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but pretty much every time Jesse's ever come out and done Safety Pup, he's never charged the village a dime. So he does that on his own time. And a lot of times when he hands out candy and things like that, a lot of times he bought it himself. So I'm very proud of him. He enjoys it, and I hope he sticks around for a long time and continues to do that kind of stuff for us. He also wanted me to mention to everyone that he's hosting another National Night Out this year. It'll be August the 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. This year it will be held at the Eagles Lodge, a parking lot. I believe the Eagles are donating the facilities, and I believe they're even donating some food and pop. So I want to thank them. And that's pretty much all I have, unless anybody has any questions. August the 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Did you want to mention anything about that other issue on Hammer Road?
Also on Friday night, we had this one wasn't a swatting. It was a real situation. Unfortunately, a gentleman was dealing with some mental health issues. It was a domestic situation. Had barricaded himself inside of his residence on Hammer Road. The officers ended up having to, when I say he barricaded himself in his house, he literally screwed all the doors shut so no one could get in. The officers made contact with him through the windows, through the doors, trying to talk him out. He continued to threaten self-harm. Eventually, once more officers were on scene, which I have to thank the sheriff's department, by the way, for that. Forced entry was made, and as they were trying to take the subject into custody, they had to prevent him from hurting himself again. He was actively trying to hurt himself whenever they took him in custody. I don't want to give details on that. One of the times that they were trying to make contact with him through one of the windows, unfortunately, Captain Staggs did sustain a injury to his hand. Luckily, it was not too severe, but it did bleed quite a bit. That's it. So but the gentleman in the house, he was transported for mental health treatment before any other actions were taken. So,
Fortunately, it's just like another day at the office, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a telling time for us. All right. Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I think we have one other person that wishes to address council. If I guess it's a group of people wants to address council. So please come up and introduce yourselves, and you can take as much time as you wish.
He wants to give that to you.
Okay.
You want to walk up there? right.
My name is Heather Garbett. I'm one of the managers at Lighthouse Thriftique, which is a nonprofit thrift store. We opened in Georgetown in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And we decided then that we wanted to do whatever we could to serve Christ in our community. And we have, as a group and a board, decided to have one of our first major donations be to our own community here. So we would like to present to the mayor tonight a check for $15,000 to go towards the building of a toddler park in Catherine Hanlon Park. You're welcome.
Someone needs to get a picture of that. Can you? Okay.
Yes. Oh, don't. I'm okay. Trent, you're a part of it.
That's pretty wonderful.
I'd just like to say, Georgetown's got a lot of good community partners. Pat the Garbett, his staff at the Lighthouse Ministry, they're always good to the village. He comes in a lot, talks to us. He does a lot of things that for the community that people don't even know that they do. And I appreciate them very much and what they're going to do. He's actually going to come in, or some of the staff will be in next week, and we'll start designing what this is going to be. And we're looking at a grant that could possibly match what they just donated.
Oh, wonderful.
So we may be able to double the amount of money we spend on the park. So
Wonderful.
there will be a sign out there that recognizes them when this is done. So thank you
Thank
guys
you.
very much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
You know, when they said they had a check for me for $15,000, I thought, wow, I'm going to go on a trip. But then they had a little bit more detail to it. That's even better to have this for our village and our community.
Go on a trip
Once
there.
again, thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to fake being a toddler.
Okay.
Yeah. Or try.
That's right. Well, that's very pleasant. As Steve Wolf said, that's a great note to end our meeting on. So thank you so very, very much. Is there anything else that needs to be brought before council at this time? If there is not, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Steve to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jeremy. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you for all coming.
Brian, that's 8:29 p.m.
Thank you, Joe. Oh, wait, we're still live. Hold on a second.
Don't get up and start dancing yet.
Sorry, my camera.
You're good. I'm used to you cutting me off.
Coming back, we can make room, right?